Hello, I'm John Cunningham, and welcome to another episode of the RedChip Money Report. For those of you new to the show, RedChip is an investor relations, media, and research firm focused on emerging growth companies. Our unique platform combines global multimedia with traditional investor relations, reaching investors around the world. Today's show features interviews with executives of two public companies. First up is BioVie, stock symbol BIVI on the NASDAQ. BioVie is a clinical stage company developing what it believes will be transformative therapies to overcome unmet medical needs in neurodegeneration and liver disease with late-stage programs in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and refractory ascites. We'll learn more when we speak with the president and CEO later in the show. Up next is iRemedy, a private company. iRemedy is an advanced, technology-driven healthcare and medical products distributor. They're actively engaged in disrupting and positively transforming the medical supply chain. By leveraging groundbreaking technology innovation paired with the ease and convenience of e-commerce, iRemedy is trusted and relied upon by a rapidly growing number of customers for access to over 1 million high-quality products. We'll learn more about iRemedy later in the show when we speak with the CEO. Now, before we get to the first interview, our quote of the week. It comes from the book Small Stocks, Big Money. Get to know management, look for intelligence, a high level of integrity, strong communication skills, and make sure they understand their products and business well. This quote comes from Charles Diker, an investment manager featured in Chapter 8 of Small Stocks, Big Money. This is a book of exclusive interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Get a digital copy on Amazon for just $18. Now let's get started with our first interview today with BioVie.
Today we have the great pleasure of having with us Cuong Do, the president and CEO of BioVie. Cuong, thanks for being here.
Craig, thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure.
BioVie recently reported data from its Parkinson's trial. It met both its primary and secondary objectives. What can you tell us about this trial and the significance of the data?
This trial was primarily designed to be a safety and drug-drug interaction study to meet the request of the FDA. We have never seen an interaction between our drug candidate, NE3107, and levodopa, which is the standard of care for Parkinson's patients. And I'm happy to report that in this trial, we saw that the drug continues to be very safe. So there was no concerns about safety. But since we hate to design a study just to prove a negative, we designed the study to have a secondary objective, which is to see if we can detect an efficacy signal in humans as we saw in non-human primates. This is a small study, so it's not meant to be statistically significant or anything like that. But I'm very excited to see that we did have statistical significance on one thing that's really important to Parkinson's patients, and that is something called morning on time. Many Parkinson's patients report that when they wake up in the morning, they have stiff muscles and have difficulty getting out of bed. And that's because overnight, as they slept, the drug levodopa wore off. So in this trial, patients treated with 3107 and levodopa woke up with the ability to get out of bed. And this is called an on signal for the muscle, right? 6 out of 20 patients were able to get out of bed or had on symptoms, while none of the patients on placebo were able to do so, right? So this was statistically significant. It also goes to show that the combination helped patients maintain their motor control. Very big deal.
Yes, it is a big deal. Congratulations on that. That is just so encouraging. You also recently reported data from your phase 2 trial in Alzheimer's. Tell us about that data, and I want to know, how does your Alzheimer's program relate to what you're doing in Parkinson's?
In our small Alzheimer's trial, we found that patients treated with NE3107 for 3 months experienced a reversal of the cognitive decline. Now, this is very different than what's been seen with any other drug out there. We may have heard of a drug that was recently approved by the FDA to treat Alzheimer's. That drug only slows the cognitive decline, right? Whereas NE3107 was able to reverse it, which is a very big deal. In addition to that, 3107 also reduced biomarker called phospho-tau, which is something that's looked at by Alzheimer's researchers, as well as improved brain function as measured through MRIs. And the way that both Alzheimer's and Parkinson's are related is that they share a common mechanism pathology. Both are affected by low-grade chronic inflammation and the associated insulin resistance. And our drug, NE3107, blocks inflammation and reverses insulin resistance.
Just amazing results with NE3107, both in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, as you've elucidated. Kong, tell us now about the future. What can we expect from these programs now?
With the results from the Parkinson's trial, we're now very excited and planning to launch the next phase studies. So our phase 3 trial for Parkinson's will be launched in short order, hopefully before June of this year. And of course, the thing that everyone is looking forward to is our phase 3 data readout from our Alzheimer's trial. That trial is now fully enrolled, and we expect to have top-line data in October of this year.
Kong, let's turn now to another aspect of BioVie, which is your work on liver disease. Data from your phase 2b trial in refractory ascites is expected in the middle of this year. What can you tell us about this trial and the unmet need that it could address?
Ascites is a condition associated with end-stage liver disease. Right? By this point, the liver and the kidney is so damaged that fluid accumulates in the abdomen. And there is no approved therapy to treat ascites. So really, the only solution at this point is to stick a large bore needle into the patient's abdomen and physically drain the fluid that builds up there. But that continually rebuilds because there's nothing that's been done to address the underlying symptoms. Our drug candidate, BIVI-201, is the first such candidate for the treatment of refractory ascites. I'm happy to say that we have paused our phase 2 trial midstream due to clear, compelling, statistically significant data showing that BIVI-201 is able to reduce ascites fluid buildup. So we believe that this was the most prudent thing to do, was to pause the trial. We are initiating conversations with the FDA on how we can move forward to our pivotal phase 3 registrational trial. We think that this is the most prudent thing to do for patients because patients at this condition have 50% mortality rates within 12 months. So we think that pausing the trial now and moving straight to the phase 3 is the best way to bring this innovation to patients.
That is extremely exciting news, Kong. Management, of course, is essential to any company, and especially a small cap company. Kong, tell us a little bit about yourself and some of the key players on the BioVie team.
I'm Kong Do. I'm a biochemist by training, and I've been a serial chief strategy officer for large companies, including Merck and Samsung. I've been associated with BioVie from the very beginning since I'm on the board. And when we made the acquisition of the assets from Neuronetics, the board asked me to step in as CEO, and that's why I'm sitting here with you today. On our team, we have the 3 gentlemen who are considered the fathers of NE3107. Steve White, Chris Redding, Clarence Allen. They synthesized the molecule. They have conducted every study with this molecule from the very beginning. So there is no better team to lead the development of NE3107 than Chris, Steve, and Clarence. In addition, we have Joseph Palumbo as our Chief Medical Officer. Joe has been the head of neurology and Chief Medical Officer for companies such as J&J and several others out there. Phenomenal pedigree. So we have a great team shepherding these assets through.
Kong, I'm just going to mention here that you have shown a very unusual amount of commitment to BioVie. Talk about your compensation for being the CEO of BioVie.
I am all in on BioVie and my belief of this portfolio. I believe we have the most exciting portfolio around. We have multiple assets in late stage development, and I'm totally convinced about NE3107. That's why I led the acquisition of NE3107. To demonstrate that, I took all of my compensation last year in equity instead of cash because I believe the value of the company will be dramatically higher than what it is now once the market understands fully what this drug could do.
Now, to summarize, Kong, what is the essential value proposition? Why should investors, including yourself, take an interest in BioVie right now?
I believe BioVie has the most exciting portfolio in pharmaceuticals today. In NE3107, we believe this could become the first truly effective drug to treat Alzheimer's disease. In NE3107, we also believe this could become the first new treatment for Parkinson's since the introduction of levodopa 5 decades ago. And in BIVI-201, we hope to have the first treatment for refractory ascites, a terrible condition where patients have a 50% mortality rate within 12 months. So all of these drugs, we believe, could play dramatic roles in healthcare looking forward. So that's why I'm so excited about BioVie.
Kong, that really sticks with me when you say the most exciting portfolio in pharmaceuticals today. Very memorable statement. It is a completely fascinating story. We love it, and thank you for sharing the BioVie story with us today.
Well, I'm always excited about BioVie and happy to talk about it anytime. So thank you so much for having me with you today.
Now, to get more information on BioVie, visit biviinfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free. You even can subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com featuring emerging growth companies like BioVie. Again, visit redchip.com and subscribe today. In addition to our newsletter, you can also order your copy of Small Stocks, Big Money. This is a book written by RedChip's CEO, featuring interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Order your copy at Amazon.com today for just $18. Now let's move on to our next interview today with iRemedy.
We're here with Tony Paquin, the founder, CEO, and president of iRemedy. Welcome to the studio today, Tony.
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate being here.
This company really caught my attention, iRemedy, right from the get-go. You had incredible revenue growth in the last few years. Why don't you just give our audience a quick rundown, brief overview of what you guys do?
It's been a very exciting run for the last couple of years. First off, what iRemedy does is we are an artificial intelligence-based technology company that has built a platform to support the medical supply industry. And we've just had a tremendous amount of success because there's been so much demand in medical supply, and there's such a need for what we call a smarter catalog, for intelligence inside the medical supply chain world. It's an ongoing problem. We all experienced it in the pandemic, but it's really been around for about 10, 20 years. We started developing this technology prior to the pandemic, so we just happened to be, the right people at the right time. And we saw our revenues go from $1 million to $3 million to $5 million to $15 million to $50 million. I think last year we did $52 million. So we're expecting to see that kind of growth continue, and we're very excited about it.
Wow, congratulations. And I've been tracking your progress, and you've beat expectations, based on our conversations over the last couple of years. So that's tremendously exciting. I think it has a lot to do with your team, obviously, tremendous pedigree on some of your team members. Maybe you could share some of their history and how they plan to influence and take iRemedy to the next level together.
Really, as a CEO, your job is to build the team. That's the main thing. And you hear people talk about that, hey, I want to build a team of people that are smarter than me or more experienced than me. There's actually a lot of truth to that. That can sometimes be a very good strategy. We're very fortunate at iRemedy. I've got a couple of leaders and a couple of scientists that are absolutely world-class. Probably the most famous guy on my team is my Chief Technology Officer, Jim Harding. Jim is actually one of the early inventors of the MS-DOS operating system that he sold to Bill Gates and Microsoft. And he did work directly with Bill Gates and that team in the early Microsoft days. He filed patents and developed database and did a lot of innovation and technology development. Jim went on to have a great career. Most exciting to us because of the work that we do is he went to work, he sold 2 companies to Jeff Bezos at Amazon, and he went on to become the Vice President of Technology at Amazon. And he really is the key guy that turned Amazon into the marketplace that we all know today. So he's brilliant, he's cool, he's exciting, he's a very good friend, very high quality individual. He's an important part of the team. But we move on from there. And Kevin, my CFO, was recently a CFO at Stryker, managing a $2 billion unit in the Stryker environment. Stryker, to me, is one of these world-class brands, certainly inside of healthcare. Kevin is just a brilliant guy. He's got 4 masters. He previously worked at Kellogg and their global supply chain. He's just world-class young guy, very smart, very hardworking. But that CFO position is very important to a company that's on fast growth. On top of that, we've got great engineers, great scientists, great marketing people. We're a small company. We have about 25 employees. So it's really about handpicking that team. It's exciting as a CEO when you can look at your team and say, I love every one of these people. Like, I'm happy with every single one of them. That's a rare thing as a CEO, by the way. And it's exciting. I've had a couple of exits in my history. I started a software company in the insurance industry with my brother Gary, who is a co-founder in that business. He's also a co-founder at iRemedy. Gary is a former IBMer. So we have a history in software. We started a software company in the insurance industry, very successful, went through a great exit with that business. That business is still very much alive today. It's a multi-billion-dollar software company. Later, I did another software company in the medical world. That was an electronic medical record software business. We took that public on the NASDAQ. At my core, I'm a software programmer. That's how it all started 30 or 40 years ago. I don't write code anymore. I've got much better, much smarter, much younger people to do that for me.
Makes total sense when you see a tight-knit group in a small office environment putting out 50, 60, almost $1 million in revenue in just a short period of time with such a ramp up. It speaks volumes to the people behind it and the platform. And particularly a nimble team. Operation Warp Speed required a lot of components to help patients with needs, and your team was able to do that. What about the next phase? What's the next big project to tackle where you can use that nimbleness and penetrate the market?
Yeah, first off, the culture of our company is to be mission driven, right? So we're always on a mission. And healthcare is a big O industry with a lot of problems, right? It's a very inefficient, old business. Some of the medical supply distributors here in the United States are 100 years old, 150 years old. So where we're going next, where we're going now, in fact, and we're already in that sort of continuing that high growth movement, is you could say that we're sort of democratizing our AI. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we were mainly using that technology to solve big problems at the government on behalf of the country. So we ended up becoming an important provider for the United States government over the last couple of years. What we've done now in the natural progression of our platform is to develop that technology so we can make it available to the entire industry, to hospitals, to doctors, to dentists, to surgery centers. Now, what we're doing in 2023 is we're focusing on what I call that middle market. And that middle market for us is surgery centers, large medical practices. This is a segment that wants to be profitable, that needs to be profitable, but is also very attractive to us as potential clients because they're big. And the average order size, the lifetime value, the reorder rate is all of a very desirable level. So we've targeted that market. We're already in pretty high growth in that market. That's where we'll see a lot of our growth in 2023.
Incredible. You know, I'm very excited for your progress. And why don't you tell us just a tiny bit about the history, your investors, your background. I know you guys have a lot of skin in the game, a team of brothers putting this together. What are your plans to potentially optimize the valuation for yourselves, your team, and your stakeholders?
Absolutely. So iRemedy, was started because of work that I was doing in the hospital market with Gary. We were witnessing firsthand, having worked at hundreds, I think about 600 hospitals across the United States, we saw the inefficiencies and the high costs of medical supplies and the unfairness of that market where everybody's paying a different price. And, it is true, right? You get that bandage in a hospital that costs $100 when we know it costs $1 to make. It's just wrong, right? And so we became mission-driven, being technology people, market disruptors. We knew we could do a better job, so we set off to do that. Now, of course, we had to invent this technology, develop the platform, get it to market. So the way we started is our own investments and the investments of, you could call it the friends and family round, right? But in our case, it was mostly healthcare professionals, doctors, people inside the industry, medical device providers, people who are healthcare professionals because they understood the problem and they appreciated the idea that there needed to be a solution. I think we have about 150 or so of those types of investors, accredited investors. What we're focused on now is, an exit, a return on investment for all of our investors that we have now and that will continue to come in 2023 and in 2024. If you look at our history, we do exits. We create a company, we had it acquired. We create another company, we took it public. So we're focused on that. What's going to happen in 2023, we already are through the approval process for a Reg A offer, which is going to allow us to kind of open up investment to the public, right, through the Reg A exemptions here in the United States. Super exciting. We got all kinds of people excited about what we're doing. Our customers are excited. Our clients, doctors, nurses, consumers, everybody's excited. We're excited to get them in. We need the capital. Look, we got to bring in capital to grow. You can't go from 2 million to 10 million to 20 million to 50 to 100 million without bringing in the working capital that you need to get yourself there. Now, along the way, we have other accredited investors and Reg D type of investors, but clearly then the plan will be we're looking for an exit. We're looking for partners that can work with us to make that happen on behalf of our investors. That, will likely, be an IPO. As you know, we're talking to bankers right now about a potential IPO. I will tell you that we're going to do that when the market is right and when the company is ready. We're fully audited. We have good corporate governance. As you heard me say, we've got a sophisticated CFO. We built this thing to be ready to do the right kind of exit. You're asking me as a CEO and a co-founder, I would bet that we do a very high quality IPO, but it's also possible that there could be an acquisition. There are people very interested in what we're doing. We're the modern solution to an old complex problem. And there's people, companies in this market, $100 billion companies, and they know that they need to modernize, right? Sure. And we've seen this happen dozens of times in the last 20 years where the old industry guard, either modernizes or goes away. And it's very difficult for an old company to do that. And one of the ways they do it, of course, is to acquire somebody like us. We're the only company I know that has this AI-based technology in this medical supply world. And we could be an attractive acquisition target. Who knows? But meanwhile, what we're going to do is we're going to pursue our mission, build the company, service customers' needs, bring in investors that we need in order to accomplish that mission, and then set ourselves up for an exciting exit, very possibly an IPO with a high-quality banker sometime in the next, 12, 18 months, who knows?
Absolutely understand that interest, and I can understand big corporate interest in wanting to be part of this with the trajectory that you've proven in such a short period of time. I think you were under 10 million when we first met, and that was just a couple of years back. So that's impressive, especially under an environment that was not easy to maneuver in.
It's a challenging environment. Yeah, it was a very difficult time. You know, the thing about healthcare, and particularly the supply business, remember, it's a very big industry. You know, this is a multi-billion-dollar market. And nobody new has come into this industry, you know, with a tech solution, you know, for what, 50 years? It's way overdue for a company like iRemedy.
Incredible. We like to sum it up at the end where you just, why should our audience, why should they take an interest in you today? I think you covered an awful lot of that and some great things, but, you know, maybe just bring it home for us.
Look, you know, like I can tell you some things about iRemedy and why I would encourage people to be involved, right? Please. So one is, first is it's a high quality investment in a massive market with innovative technology. And we brought in that kind of leadership team. You know, you want to invest in companies that have a team that have that proven track record, right? And I think that's incredibly important. I'll also tell you, though, that we have an important mission. Like, we're important to this country, and there's a real need here. So if you believe in investing something that has a bit of a greater good, you know, I think this is that kind of opportunity. When you get to be my age, you begin to look at those kinds of things and say, okay, it's great, let's go do another deal. But let's do a deal that's really going to have a positive impact on the world. And iRemedy is one of those things. I will also tell you this, and that is that this leadership team, we are fully committed, right? I mean, when I go in on a deal, I go all in. And that's really important. Like, this isn't, you know, this isn't a minor undertaking. And Todd, I think you know that over the years that we've talked, you know, I'm a 24/7 all in kind of guy because I believe in the investment. I think the return is going to be amazing, but I also believe in the mission. And I'm very focused. Now, by the way, a side effect is I love the technology and I love my tech partners. And this AI stuff is really interesting. And it's an interesting time right now, by the way. The world is just getting to the point right now where AI is really going to matter. We've been kind of talking about it for years. But the hardware environment, the infrastructure environment, and the AI technology is now beginning to commercialize. This is actually a very exciting time in all industries, but particularly in healthcare. So I'm obviously excited about that AI work that we're doing. I think we got a great team. We're focused on everybody getting a great investment.
Incredible. And maybe we'll get Jim back here to walk us through the platform one day, because
Absolutely.
It really is impressive, the work you've been able to do, and it speaks volumes to why you have this incredible growth. These are the opportunities I like to look for. So I really appreciate you becoming part of the RedChip family, first of all, and presenting this to our audience today, these opportunities.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. We're excited to be here.
Now, to get more information on iRemedy, visit iRemedyinfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free. You can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com, featuring emerging growth companies like iRemedy. Again, visit redchip.com and subscribe today. In addition to our newsletter, you can also order your copy of Small Stocks, Big Money. This is a book written by RedChip's CEO, featuring interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Order your copy at Amazon.com today for just $18. Now let's recap the companies you met today. First, you met BioVie, stock symbol BIVI on the NASDAQ. BioVie has made significant progress with its clinical programs in 2022, and recently they released positive data from its phase 2 trials in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The promising results from these trials showed enhanced motor control in Parkinson's patients and improved cognition in Alzheimer's patients. Enrollment was recently completed for its pivotal phase 3 trial in Alzheimer's, and a planned phase 3 trial in Parkinson's could lead to FDA approval as early as 2024. Learn more at BIVIinfo.com. Then you met iRemedy, a private company. iRemedy is transforming how professional healthcare providers and consumers source and purchase medical supplies. By leveraging groundbreaking technology innovation paired with the ease and convenience of e-commerce, iRemedy is trusted and relied upon by a rapidly growing number of customers for access to over 1 million high-quality products. Again, to learn more about iRemedy, visit iRemedyinfo.com. Again, if you have any questions about any of the public companies featured on today's show, please call us at 1-800-REDCHIP or email us at info@redchip.com. In closing, remember, while small caps can provide significant gains, you must be prepared for the downside. Small cap stocks are among the most volatile asset class. Some of the companies featured on this show are RedChip client companies, and we may own stock in these companies. So please always read our disclosures at redchip.com. Thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next week with some new exciting emerging growth companies.